7. Noor Sharifi, hostage. Puli Prison, Kabul, May 2nd. Hatim Kuli looked exactly what he was: cunning, malignant, petty, and dangerous to anyone who fell into his power. One of the first few recruits to the People's Democratic Communist Party of Afghanistan, Kuli was a total opportunist. He had wormed his way up in life because things like principle did not trouble him at all, and because intrigue for its own sake awakened in him a delight which gave him the energy which seems to underlie all human success. He loved to do things anonymously, destructive things, and to watch the effects unseen. Even under the royal, and later the Republican, regimes, he had flourished. Hatim Kuli sought people's weak points, found out who their enemy might be, and sold the information. For 20 years he had been known to the Afghan political police, and especially those of its officers whom he was blackmailing, as the Devil's Secret Service man. For 15 years, Kuli had worked within the party, skillfully surviving the internecine warfare among the comrades. When the Russians entered the country in force, he had come into his own, and now he was commandant of the notorious Kabul prison at Puli. He imitated the Russians in only wearing uniform on ceremonial occasions. Although he felt safer, more anonymous, in European civilian clothes, he chose shirts, ties, and the rest, which were in such startling taste that almost any Westerner would have classed him on sight as an exhibitionist pimp. The dirishi, civilian outfit, which he preferred, was a tightly fitting suit of green and blue stripes with a purple fleck, cut from heavy topcoat tweed. His double-breasted waistcoat was set off by a heavy watch chain. In his platform-soled shoes, he stood all of 5'6". But now, crouched behind his desk, he seemed to the handcuffed girl who was being pushed towards him like nothing so much as a very large, very repellent toad. Even his face was like a frog's. "Miss Noorjan Sharifi, please, honour me. Come in, do. You'll really have to take another name, you know. This is the new age. We are all equal now. Sharifi means of high, princely rank. This is not Europe, you know. Here hardly anyone has a surname, and those who do are always people with these ancient pretensions." He had managed to forget that his own father, a thieving grocer who put sand in the sugar, had once tried to adopt the aristocratic surname of Hashemi, because his father's name was Hashem. Kuli Sr. had been chased out of his village for it. He himself had been named Hatim after an ancient hero. "Besides, the Sharifs are descendants of the Prophet, and we don't really want that nonsense in a free country like this." "The country may be free, Commandant, but I am not. Why don't you stop making speeches and tell me when I can get out?" "I have a file here on you." He rummaged in a mass of papers which he kept on the desk to make it look important. "Yes, here it is." The girl took in his beady eyes and the rolls of fat on his neck, his broken teeth, and shuddered. "Your father, former Minister Akbar Sharifi, was an associate of Zahir, the former king who hasn't answered our invitation from his bolt hole in Rome to return to Kabul for re-education." "My father served his country all his life." "Wrong. He did not serve his country. He served the fascist swine. But now he may have a chance of serving his country, if he is sensible." He gave a self-satisfied smile. At party meetings he was being more and more noticed for his clever speeches. One day he might become Minister of the Interior. Then he could really serve. "Have it your own way." "Luckily I do not have to have a way of my own. I glory in having been given the way of the leader, the great Barbaric Karmal." "Long live the revolution," she said. Coolly sidestepped the sarcasm. "Now that's better. People such as you, young, 24, studied abroad, attractive." He looked at her auburn hair, green eyes, beautiful hands, for somewhat longer than was necessary for mere identification. "Such people can be valuable to the nation." She was too tall, he thought. Must be 5'8" in her stockings, and she had that supercilious Sharifi face. He preferred them podgy. "I have always been ready to serve Afghanistan." Cooley scowled. "The kind of service that people of your sort are readied for, my dear, is lying on their backs in silken capitalist boudoirs or tripping half-naked around swimming pools set with diamonds, showing themselves off to European degenerates." "What should I be doing, then?" "You could be trained and work for Department 6 of the Intelligence. They want people like you, with cosmopolitan backgrounds, international contacts. Why, you must know half the capitalists of the West, don't you?" "I do know a lot of people over there." "Then you can help us, and you can help your father. If you don't agree, I'm afraid he'll be in great trouble. I could not protect him beyond a certain point. If you are sensible, you will be well rewarded." See what he had in mind, she thought. It might be the best policy. Think about the implications later. Besides, the food might improve if they thought she was cooperating. The meat was rotten and full of maggots. "Tell me more." So she was getting softened up, he thought. He had been right after all. He had told the head of Department 6, that fool Zimanoff, that he was sure that he could turn these aristocrats. They were all the same, greedy. She was wearing jeans, faded ones at that, but she craved the high life. He was sure of that. "Comrade Noor Bibi, you can get a proper briefing and a real party education at one of the new training centers. There is a lovely one at Dar al-Aman with audio-visual aids, brand new from Hungary and the German Democratic Republic." "But what would I be expected to do if I were sent abroad?" "I am not sure, but can give you, in confidence, some idea of possibilities which I have learnt from a high quarter." That sounded better than from Zimanoff, who used to be doorman at the Yamor Hotel. He had been sacked for stealing travelers' checks from Americans and subsequently claimed that he had done it for political, socialist motives. "The foreign press regularly tells lies about us. The West is full of fat lice, millionaire Afghan emigres who constantly smear us and run down the country. They even say there is a civil war here." "But aren't there millions of Afghans living in misery, in huts and tents in Pakistan, and more than 1 million in Iran?" "Comrade Karmal has explained that for the British television. I saw it myself on video here in Kabul. He told the interviewer that they were seasonal workers. They cross the border to help with the harvests and so on." "I see." "Yes. Now, in addition to refuting this lying propaganda, these Zionists and capitalist smears, you will also make contact with others." "What others?" "Well, some of them at least are probably your old school friends, young people who have joined the undercover liberation forces in the West." "Terrorists, you mean, like the Red Brigades?" "I said, and you must not distort my words, the liberation forces of the people. Many of their members are from rich families. They do not yet understand our revolution, but they are very useful. They have entree to the highest quarters. We can link up with them." "A lot of people don't want to cooperate with the USSR," she said. Cooley laughed. Have you never heard of the Russian phrase agent влияния, an agent of influence? They are to be found all over the world. A few of them want to act for us. They include trade union chiefs, politicians, academics, all sorts, even some millionaires. How do we recruit them? Why, we swamp them with praise, lavish hospitality on them, make them think that they are important. We don't recruit them at all. Lenin laid down the line on them. He called them useful idiots. She had never understood before why so many people in free countries seemed to be on the side of the communists. Now she did. Hatim Cooley did not have his way. The girl refused to cooperate in spite of the threats against her father. But Cooley knew, from his training and his experience, that this was not the end of the story. He simply sent her away to be dealt with by Senior Case Officer Nikitin of the State Security Committee of the USSR for further investigation and, frankly, blackmail. Then he turned to the next target individual on his list. It was a very long one.